Yo, I'm very tired, dude. It's like midnight for me. I'm only gonna be here for maybe like an hour. I'm very tired. Very, very, very tired. Oops. It's fucking midnight here. Gotta go to bed. Sleepy time. Fucking hell. I hate having to reset all these cameras constantly. Every time the stream shuts down, my cameras reset all of their settings. It's very annoying. Oh well. It is what it is. Bum bum bum. Yeah, 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Yeah, you guys are in the future. I have not made it to the future yet. I am stuck in the past. I'll tell you right now, it's not good. The past isn't worth it. No good. Oh, what I want to do is put on a YouTube video just to see. Just to see. They released a painting guide for Dwarf Warriors. A GW painting guide for Dwarf Warriors. We gotta see this one. What do you mean? GW doesn't do, like, generic things. It's more so units. So, like, what do you mean blacksmith? Like an actual, like, dwarven blacksmith? But I can't hear anything. Fuck.
A simple guide is that you can use these paints as steps for the rest of your army, and it's done super quick. First off, we'll base coat the tunic on the arms and
I'm curious to see how they do it.
With a small base brush.
Just to see what they do with these guys.
To get a solid, rich blue tone. We'll also use this for the helmet and shield base. So don't worry if you make a bit of a mess, as we'll be using some metallics later on to cover those. Next, we'll use Doomball Brown for a rich and slightly warm leather colour for the cloak, leather edge on the chainmail, and any straps and boots. Over the black undercoat,
I feel like the casting of it is so much better. Maybe they clean the cape up.
You might find that you need a third coat in some flatter and wider areas. Now we have the two darker colours.
Oh no, the cape's still a bit weird looking. It's a bit lumpy.
Now we'll use Cadian Flesh Tone and a small layer brush for the hands and the face where visible. We'll need 3 coats of this colour over the black undercoat, as it's a much lighter and thinner colour. So just take your time and make sure that each
I don't get it. What do you mean?
Before adding the next. Seeing you'll have a lot of dwarfs in
You're
your
looking
army,
for a generic blacksmith model?
Blood Reaver Flesh or Night Quest
Is that what you mean?
For some different ruddy tones. With the skin dry, we can quickly paint the hammer shaft and the eyes. We're already using a small layer brush, which is perfect for such a small detail. Just make sure the tip of the brush is pointed by rolling it on the palette and that the paint flows off the brush without drying too quickly. Then we can just be careful by adding a few small lines to build up the colour without creating too much mess. But you can always tidy up with some Cadian Flesh Tone once the black is dry. Then we can paint the champion's large beard and hair with Xandri dust and a medium layer brush. Just be careful of the other details we just painted. Seeing that he has a big beard, we could get any of this colour on pretty much anything else. But you can always tidy up if you do get any of this colour on anything. Now we can add some metallics on our mountain hold champion. For the chainmail, hammerhead, helmet wings and vamp bracers, we'll use lead belcher.
You want something more generic, try 3D printing. I don't think you'll find one. Because every piece from Games Workshop is typically meant for like wargaming. They're very like thematically, you know, pieced out. I don't think you want that. You probably want like a generic guy at a blacksmith, you know. D&D minis, 3D printing.
We'll also use this for any icons and beard rings. Just like with the lead belcher, we may smudge this onto the previously applied colours. So leave it to dry and finish with the layers, and then tidy up once they're all done. Before we move on, we'll change our paint water so it's nice and clean, as we'll be using some shades next. To shade the Doomball Brown and Xandri Dust details, we'll thin down 1 part Agrax Earthshade with 1 part Larmium Medium. We'll apply it lightly on both colours, but we can always add another coat for the leather to add definition. We just want to make sure that we don't overload the details. Because
he's not really a man though, he's a dwarf, right?
So soak up any excess shade that starts to pool. Now we can move on to shading the gold and the skin. We'll use Reichel and Flesh Shade for both these, but in 2 separate ways. For the gold, we'll just apply it normally, giving the recesses a nice darker tone. Just be careful of the other details like the beard. For the skin, we still want to be careful of the beard, but only this time we want to apply the shade into the recesses of the skin, so we don't fully shade over and make the skin stand out even more. If you think
man, when's the last time you'd ever see a dwarf painting tutorial? They haven't had these dwarves in stock for like 9 years, 10 years.
For our last shade, we'll use Nuln Oil for the lead belcher and Cantor Blue details.
That's quite a while. Maybe 8 years.
You can use a solid layer over the lead belcher details, and you can recess shade the Cantor Blue cloth, but you can shade it normally if you want to be quicker with your application, so you can paint even more of the unit. And with those shades, our Dwarven Warrior Champion is now battle ready, and you can use these steps for even more models. Or you can keep watching to get a few extra steps down, so you can take your models to the next level in no time at all. We'll add some highlights to the metallics to make them stand out. For this, we'll use Stormhost Silver and the small layer brush. Once we have our brush to a point by rolling it on the palette, we'll pick out the edges and raised areas with the side and the tip of the brush. By using the side of the brush on the edges, we can save a lot of time and get lots done in no time at all. You also don't have to paint every detail either. You can just pick out the most prominent and visible,
everything.
Like the hammerhead, shield and helmet.
OCD.
Especially seeing how short our champion is. There isn't actually that much to highlight. That one can go in the book of grudges.
I was going to say.
Highlight the brown leathers with Scrag Brown. Using the same techniques as we did with the Stormhost Silver, we can make those details.
Was looking for a live streamer painting. Well, that's not me. I'm not painting, unfortunately.
But you can pick out what you like. Our champion is looking great, but we have one.
There's a bunch of people who do paint, but I'm not one of them right now, unfortunately.
The skin of the face and hands with Kislev flesh. Just like with all the highlights, we just need to add a small amount of paint at a time.
Painting is not to be done on this stream for a long time.
Done in no time at all. And there we are, a champion worthy of the mountain gods. And seeing those last steps didn't take too long, you'll have a whole battalion ready in no time. We just based him in a stony astrogranite, and you can learn more about basing your models in our video.
Interesting that they finally came back with any dwarf content. Literally any dwarf content from like official Games Workshop. That's not common. I love it. I love to see it. It's gonna come out. What are we at right now? What day is it? Wednesday. It just turned Wednesday. So, like, we're gonna get the dwarves officially out on the 3rd. So we're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days. No, 10 days. 10 days from now, we get some good shit. Let's put on this. Let's watch video.
I painted up some Khorne Berserkers to add to my 2nd edition Chaos Space Marines army. In this video, I shall give them a leader, who may or may not slay them in combat as well as his foes.
Video. Yo. I'll settle for building. Well, yeah, we've been building for a while, unfortunately. The curse of doing a 2,000-point army in one go.
Betrayer. The Betrayer, who goes by the name of Khan. Khan has had more than one model in the history of Citadel miniatures, but I'm painting the original, and in metal to boot. I found this on eBay, unpainted,
This plate's
and for
fucked.
an uncharacteristically reasonable price.
No, it'll be tomorrow.
I primed him white for some reason. Might have been with some
Tomorrow.
at the same time, since I tend to prime in batches. Anyway,
Finished
this
Dead
metal
Space
model was
today.
released in 1996. And came in
Considering
four
my
parts.
PSU literally
The torso
exploded
showing his ripped arm.
the last time I was on stream, which then in turn turned the stream off for a day or two.
And the head,
Yeah.
complete with happy bunny ears.
Need to finish
This
the game,
model
and we
was the
did.
staple to represent Khan
And that
on the
game's great.
tabletop. Until
Pretty
it was
tight-knit.
replaced
I mean, it
some
is a
20
remake,
years later
so-
with a plastic kit. And a significantly more dynamic pose.
I enjoyed
Unlike
it.
the metal model, which has a much flatter profile. Indeed, it seems to follow the pattern of other miniatures from the era. Namely, let's hold our
I
weapons
actually
aloft
had a Karn the
and shout
Betrayer.
loudly.
Ages
Such as
ago,
this
when I had a
Ultramarine
little
sergeant,
Chaos
who
Force,
strongly
I had
forbids
Karn.
ne'er-do-wells
And I
from
had the
trespassing on his
Corn
property.
Berserkers, I had like a Rhino,
And this apothecary.
I had
and
Devastators.
Dante. Then
What were they called?
probably
Havocs? I think it was Havocs,
Granted,
no?
One cannot tell if Khan is
Something, I
shouting
can't
behind
remember.
his mask, but the Respirator vent certainly looks disgruntled, and it would be a safe bet to say Khan is, at the very least, tutting and eye-rolling, if not utterly livid behind his mask. But said model, like many beautiful metal models from this era, was relegated to fine cast at least as early as 2012.
You know, I
Khan
feel like the
first appears
Finecast
in
minis are
Codex
still very
Chaos
hard to get a
Second
hold of.
Edition 40K, and since you know this edition is my niche,
Like, the
we'll
Metal
mention
Mini's
those later.
great, but like,
He
the
gets his own
Finecast ones are
section
pretty
along
alright
with
too
the
sometimes.
World
Not
Eaters
always, but
in the middle
sometimes.
colour section, since due to this being an ancient document,
Yeah,
only a few special pages.
I
were
wouldn't
colour.
say... Well, the
rather
only
than black
problem
and
was,
white.
like, the castings were
Unlike
so
this
bad.
quote attributed
I
to him,
prefer to work with...
Corn cares not from
Okay,
whence the
well,
blood
as someone who
flows.
converts a lot of stuff,
Neither
I
do I.
prefer Finecast for
If you
that
think
reason,
about it long enough,
but that's about
it
it.
conjures up all sorts of wrong in my head. So
The
we will
only
move on.
reason Finecast is at
Although
all
apparently,
excusable
He
is
spoke
because you
these
can
words
convert
in
it, you can cut it,
Scalathrax, which
you can
is a
just make
demon
it different.
world,
Metal,
and
you can still do
the
that,
site
but
of
it's like a
famous
lot more
conflict
work.
between the World Eaters and the Emperor's children, following the Horus Heresy. It's there he gained his reputation as a betrayer. The tale goes that Khan became somewhat indignant with his fellow legionaries for taking
Much more my
shelter for the
tempo.
night while their
I mean, this
enemies
is kind
still
of-
drew breath.
Kind of a slow burn.
In response, he took a flamer and started torching the city, driving the legionaries from
What
their
did he
B&Bs,
say about
not
it?
unlike
Like the
what
gist of it?
expels felines using citrus peel. Anarchy ensued. Legionaries fighting each other to see who sleeps on the bed rather than on the floor. All the while, Khan slaughtered anyone he found. Yes, anyone. Even the night porter handing out the room keys. It was this event that fractured the Legion into warbands. Though I concede, I may have gotten some details wrong. Khan costs 217 points, and can be in your army as an exalted champion. He may lead your army if it is 1,000 points or less, and comprise solely of Corn Berserkers or Demons. I like this rule. A nice, fluffy reason to have a force composition.
It's just kind of a
certain
slow
way.
burn.
Modern rules could probably learn something from this. Anyway, his profile is shown here, with a weapon skill of 9,
This channel
one
is more
pip shy
just like
of
a mini
bloodthirsty.
hangout, right?
strength 6, 6 wounds, and 3 attacks to name a few combat-related characteristics. 3 attacks doesn't seem like many, but considering he also has Frenzy, which doubles attacks on the charge, I'd say that's significant. The Betrayer is equipped with a Mark 1 plasma pistol, bolt pistol.
I remember when the new Karn came out and everyone went crazy, and I think I've seen him once or twice and then never again.
Thick, creamy.
Oh my god, chocolate.
Delicious taste of Cadbury dairy milk.
Shut up! Thank you.
plasma weapons are something unique to this codex, and reflect the older weapons the traitors have kept from the heresy. It makes them liable to overheat, which you may think is common to all plasma weapons, but in 2nd edition, this was not so. The familiar
Well, that's shitty. Yeah, I don't blame him. Hey, I mean, sometimes Finecast stuff was actually good.
though,
Like I said, sometimes it was okay, but yeah, you're right.
so could only be fired every other turn.
They're right.
Mark
Everyone's
I
right.
plasmas didn't have
It's
this
more so
issue,
trash.
but they could overheat, causing various
That's
degrees
interesting.
of damage to the wielder, dictated by a roll on the table shown here. Unlike a roll of a 1 to hit, causing the overheat.
I still have a few Finecast
this happened
minis.
if a jam was rolled on the sustained fire dice, but basically, it had the same odds of occurring. Since Khan has the Mark of Khorne, his save from his power armor is improved by 1, from 3+ to 2+. He has 3 War Gear cards, /Chaos rewards.
Yeah,
Blood Fury of
Miniscapes videos
Khorne,
are great.
Praise of Khorne.
I don't even like collect 40k anymore. I remember some of this stuff, but like I like his videos.
I will admit that when recording the audio, I had to take care not to mispronounce Khan as Khorne and Khorne as Khan. Whoever invented that confusion was for sure having a laugh. Khan has a strategy rating of 3, which means something about who goes first in the rules, but it's a middling value if you weren't aware. Definitely much lower than Abaddon or Big Daddy Calgar. Like other Chaos Space Marines,
Yo.
Khan has the rapid fire rule, which he will never use because he would have to
Was he
stand still
really?
for a turn.
I didn't realize that.
As stated before, he is frenzied.
I mean, they're just kind of unga bunga, no? You just go in.
A form of psychology in game.
Like, do you like Space Marines but want to play as orcs?
He triples his charge move when charging into combat.
Unga bunga.
In combat, the unstoppable attack rule means his hits cannot be parried. Being impetuous means his follow-up moves are 4 inches rather than the usual 2 inches. His Praise of Khorne Chaos Reward means he can reroll any failed armor save. Blood Fury of Khorne means he has 6 wounds, but also had the downside that if no foes are within 4 inches when he makes his follow-up move, he will charge and attack the nearest friendly model instead. And finally,
Okay, we gotta get through
Trusty
this.
Gorechild is a Strength 7 monster of a chain axe, which allows Khan to reroll 1s to hit in combat. The rules and lore in Codex Chaos are accompanied by this interesting artwork by legendary Warhammer artist Mark Gibbons. It shows Khan shouting his praise to Khorne against the backdrop of a stormy sky.
Holy Giga
and
Chad.
standing atop the backing dancers from Queen's I Want to
Yeah,
Break
why are
Free
they all
music
naked?
video. Perhaps that was the melody.
Ew, is that guy...
Batman
What is that guy's
singing
belly
all
on the right?
Though the
Ew.
model has chains like this art, it doesn't show them as spiky as this, which is totally metal. Speaking
Oh,
of
gotcha,
model,
yeah.
let me show you how I painted mine.
Hey, I mean, people like that playstyle.
Picture in the Codex.
I used to like that
I started
playstyle, and now I'm
by
just kind of
painting
like,
coats of
eh.
Khorne red all over the model, except for the
I like
base
the
and a
Vote
few
10
areas
still.
I would paint another color. While that was drying, I blocked in some areas black, such as the chains, the backpack vents, on Gorechild, and on the plasma pistol. At this point, I realized how unhappy I was with the shade of red, and instead painted over all the Khorne red areas with the old glorious Citadel Foundation paint, Merkite Red. I appreciate the difference may be too subtle to notice, but I noticed, and so that's what's important. The next stage was the shading stage. Normally, my methods are more subtle than just slap it all on, but here, I really did give both barrels of slap with Army Paint a strong tone. Any area that was red got the full treatment. You might notice that I seem to be painting things in a random order,
Yes, sir.
and that's kind of intentional. Unlike
We'll be
painting
here for a
straight
little bit,
models,
maybe like
when you
not
painted
long.
the others until the first
Maybe
one
me
dries.
doing this. I just
With
need to
one
pass the
model,
time before I go to
just
bed.
paint one area, and while
I
that
need to
is drying,
sleep. I'm so
paint another
tired.
area. Hence, the random order. Anyway, next I painted the exposed arm and hand with Screamer Pink. It's my preferred base colour for pale
I'm
flesh,
so
since I
tired.
like to leave this showing in the recesses. Now I have this flat brown for the gold parts of the armor.
I wish to
I've
sleep.
all the areas that will be gold with this.
What are we
first.
building? Dwarf
I considered
Rangers.
painting a non-metallic gold like for the corn
Dwarven
preserves
Rangers.
in
We're
the
building
last
10 of
video,
them,
but
and I
decided
refuse to
against
build
it.
any more
I wanted
because,
Khan
dear
to
God,
set apart
it's
the
so
men
much
in
work.
this color scheme, namely a darker red and a metallic gold.
I'll maybe build 10 more at a
And this
later
is how it
date, but
looks
not
so
right now.
far. Time to brighten up the red a little bit. I started with Mephiston red and used this to apply a thick line to each of the sharp edges on the armor. The other areas of the armor, which are more prone to catching light, also get a coat of this red.
Started turbo speed painting my Sylvaneth for a GT next month, and I've painted like 1,000 points in 4 days. Hey, that's
With that
cool,
part
man.
done,
Get shit done.
I painted
I
a
can't
thin
say
line
the
of
same,
orange
but that's
over the
awesome. It
sharp
must feel
edges.
good.
For example,
You know, I wish I could just
The
say,
elbow,
like, yeah, I painted everything in a
the
weekend,
wrist,
and I was happy with
hand,
it. That'd be
and
awesome.
fingers,
But
and all around the eyes.
it's not
and
really
the
a
rest
thing
of
for me,
Electronics
unfortunately. It just, me doing anything takes way too long.
mask. I also dot on some highlight on the rivets.
Way too long.
I wanted to paint some battle damage on his armor, so I used a thin line of black on some sections to represent that. This was then highlighted with a mix of Trollslayer orange and dark sand. Time to give the gold some attention. I mixed Dwarven gold with the same brown I used to base coat the gold areas before, since I didn't want it to be too vibrant. I considered using Runelord brass by Citadel, but that looked too tarnished for my liking when I tried it out. I know Khan is a blood-crazed maniac, but during his downtime, I'm sure he likes to give his armor a good old spit polish. He's not a follower of Nurgle after all. So, as well as the rims of some armor panels, this lovely corn symbol on his only shoulder pad got the gold, as did the bunny ears. And here's what it looks like at this stage.
Yeah, you know, I thought about doing that. My idea was to, like, if you had the resources to do so, I've always been kind of, I've always been interested in potentially doing, like, a beater army, in a sense that you just want to kind of get it done, you know, to play games with, but then you actually worked on something a little bit more intricate. Like, you took your time to just create everything perfectly from your head. Exactly, it's a beater army. Yeah, but my gripe is that I don't want to do a 2,000 point beater army. Like a 1K, if you had a 1K lying around and you're like, I don't even care too much about this stuff, then sure. But that's where I'm taking it with Spearhead. So, like, I recently got into Spearhead. I went down to the Games Workshop, and the day that I had gone, there was a Spearhead tournament, so I walked around, looked at a bunch of games, and it seemed fun, it seemed fast, it seemed like it's probably going to get phased out in a few months, who knows? But it's very straightforward, and there's nothing. Like, there's no baggage. I need to play Spearhead. I've only heard good things about it. So, yeah, the idea is you just buy one box, and my only gripe is that you don't really have any... You have no say in how you do things. You can't build an army. You can't really give them crazy upgrades. You can't do anything. You buy one box. Hang on. As an example, I went with the Caradron for the sake of, like, conversion ideas and thematics. So you get 10 Argonaut Company. You get 1 frigate. You get an Admiral, and then you get 3 Sky Wardens, the blimpy dudes. It is very ideal. Absolutely. It's extremely ideal for just getting started, getting stuck in. There's no baggage. There's no thinking. You just play with what's in the box. For me, I want a game. I haven't gamed in so long, and I don't mind just coming up with, like, a one-off, for fun, you know, hobby venture. I have to convert everything because God knows I never use anything straight from the box. I just haven't done that in so long. I've got brain damage, and so it shouldn't be hard to convert stuff up, just because I'm going to do it in the vein of, like, old world fantasy dwarves, but yeah, it should be very fast. I mean, shit, you could literally, the 2 coolest things you could do with that is you could make them, like, pirate slayers, like a little pirate slayer fucking venture, or you could make him some engineering thing. Yeah, I know his videos. Yeah, his stuff is great. He, I was actually gonna reach out to see if he wanted anything because I have a bunch of orcs. But no, he follows me on Twitter. He's a cool guy. I like his videos. It's very manageable. Yeah, it's like what, 10, 11, 14 infantry, and then a giant airship. The airship's a problem, but like the 14 infantry, I can crack out in like probably a week.
Focusing mainly on the teeth and eye sockets, so these can pick up some shading. I used an old brush I found just recently.
Probably 9.
It's
9.5.
Since I know some of you get a thrill from making fun of my old brushes. Reichland Flesh Shade was used to shade the gold areas, focusing on those parts that would be in
I
shadow,
didn't get bored once,
such as those under the knee.
which is very good.
And the base was looking a bit sad, so I mixed up some Naga green with a drop of dark sand. I had this crazy idea that it would make a shade like the original Goblin Green. I applied a couple of layers of this to the base. Nothing like a grimdark warrior on a garish base. Only a few details left to go. I highlighted the curtain tassels with Fenrisian grey. I started by painting a thin line down each ridge with my thinnest brush, but then I remembered you can do several at once
That's
by
cool.
using the side of
I
your
mean,
brush
I'd
as
like
well
to
as
get
the
back into
balls
Age of
the minimum
Sigmar.
amount of paint.
It's
I
just
repeated this
the
step on the plasma pistol.
the cities book is
The eye lenses
a ticking time.
painted
Every
by
time
first
someone says
painting
Age of Sigmar, Age of
Caliban
Sigmar,
then a spot of scorpion green.
Cities of
I
Sigmar
tried
is
this
a
combo
time
on the plasma
bomb,
coils
and it
with
will
the
not
plasma
end
pistol.
well for what I want to do.
For the tiny area they
So I'm
occupy
kind
on
of
the model,
stuck
it
in
seemed to be a
wanting to
reasonable
play
method.
and wanting to convert,
To make the
but
chain pop a
also
little
the
more,
book
I
invalidating
used my
all of my
brightest silver
hobbying,
paint,
kind of.
which is a bit like Runefang steel.
Do you have any games that you consider a 10
I
out of
dry brushed
10?
this over all
Raid
silver
Shadow
areas.
Legends?
The sharpest edges and rivets of the bunny ears got the same treatment. The base, now dry, got a tentative lick of dark sand to pick out some of the grains of sand and make it look like grass. And there we have it. Khan the Betrayer, the original metal model, painted a sort of scabby red colour.
Well,
to set
the
him
issue is
apart
not getting new
his
units.
other
The
brother
issue is
Berserkers.
replacing old units.
It was an absolute joy to paint.
What's
this
the point
model
of building all of
with all its
these
fancy details?
fantasy sculpts in Age of Sigmar when they're just going to get replaced? Because that's realistically what they want to do. I don't think they want to keep Iron Breakers, Longbeards, Iron Drakes. They don't want to keep fantasy in Age of Sigmar, because it's not Age of Sigmar, it's fantasy.
Infer a deeper mystery.
I hope they
Who
come
are
out
they
with
anyway?
new Dwarven units
Bound demons of corn, two angry pixies whispering
sometime
curses
soon,
in
just so
ear.
they can flesh out,
Who
like,
knows?
not
Suggestions
needing
in the
fantasy
comments
sculpts.
are welcome.
Because that would give me a little bit more assurance
So now
that
I
my
have
work
two leaders
won't
for my Chaos Army.
be useless,
But
in a
really,
way.
Big Daddy Abad isn't going to stand aside for Khan. So that might get awkward. Anyway, I have 3 squads and 2 characters so far. I'm not far.
Looking for dinner ideas?
Yeah, McDonald's. Oreos, even better. Lovely.
Terminators of Chaos. The old Metal Chaos Terminators. In this video, I'll paint them up for your pleasure and discuss their rules for 2nd edition 40k.
Lovely.
In my last video, I painted up Abaddon the Despoiler. Go have a look if you dig his shtick. One of the special rules for Abaddon is the ability to take a bodyguard of Terminators, so it seemed fitting that my next flirtation with the Servants of Chaos would be to assemble and paint some era-appropriate Chaos Terminators in order to escort their lord into battle.
I
chose
don't
to
even.
work
You
on a
know
batch
what?
of 5
The
of
thing
these
is, though,
models,
the reason
which
they're
I obtained
lacking
second-hand from
specifically
eBay.
old dwarves
Since if
is
years
because
of
they're
being a
exactly
40k
that. They're
hobbyist
old
and nothing else
dwarves.
for me, it has conditioned me to build my units in staples of 5.
Now that
But more
Warhammer
on
the Old
unit
World's a
size
thing,
later. For now,
and Warhammer
let's
Fantasy's
have a
back in
look at
full
the
swing,
models.
That's where you get
The
your
models I
dwarves.
am using were released
It's
in
not that they can't have that in
1996,
Age of Sigmar, but
the
like
same
you would
year
need to
as
take
Codex
a
Chaos was released.
you'd have to take like a
Such
4K
models
upgrade
were
route, kind of like the
available in a
Skaven.
box set of 5
You could do it; they'd look
or
amazing,
in
but
blister packs. A few years
who knows?
later, the same miniatures were repackaged for 3rd edition. The pages of this Citadel annual show the variety of bits available for these models. 3 body sculpts,
Cities is cool,
5
but like
heads,
again,
and
it
4
is
trophy
quite
racks.
invalidating very
All
fast.
right arms carried ranged weapons. These were 2 combi bolter sculpts, a bolter and flame.
Like, let me
combi
actually
weapon,
take a look
a
at the
bolter
Let
and melt.
me just turn this off for now. Let me take a look at the Cities of Sigmar PDF. 24 scrolls. Here we go. So, these are the Cities of Sigmar updated rules for AOS. They kind of took away cities. Like, having each city be very thematic in how your army plays and the allies you can take, that was cool. There's no longer that. And I kind of miss that. Instead, you get these. Like Ironweld Guild Army, Dawnbringer Crusade, Fortress City Defenders, Collegiate Arcane Expedition. Like, if I was to do this, I'm playing Ironweld Guild Army. Like, I'm running the 3-inch range increase on the Fusiliers and, you know, whatever else shooting you've got. So that's kind of where the cities are now. They're a little boring, but, like, again, everything is very streamlined and people like it. And I like it because the hobby itself takes the most time, not the gaming. Lumineth was the new High Elves. Sort of Dwarves could use the same sort of thing. Well, the Caradron and the Fireslayers are just the Dwarves. It's just different aspects of their society, right? It's like the engineering, and it's the Slayer cult. So, I guess in a way, you could say, oh, I am missing your typical grudge-bearing, you know, axe-wielding, shield-hefting dwarf. You could say that, for sure. Like, they really do have so many leftover units in this army. Like, Talia Vedra, Lioness of the Parch, like, new, great. Pontifex Zenestra. This guy... Zenestra, is that a chick? Oh, it is. Okay, an Unbind of 1. This, as a conversion piece, I thought was really cool. Because, like, playing cities to me is still your typical... You can play like dwarves, you could just play castle. And I like playing castle in cities, or rather in Age of Sigmar. But I'm always trying to find ways to, like, create new things that could possibly be in the lore, you know? Things that aren't too far-fetched. And, this is just some sort of, like, priest. Yeah. Priest Lady Flagellants. You want to use fucking Slayers in Age of Sigmar? Cities of Sigmar? There you go. Shitty Flagellants. You're never going to use them, but they're there. I've played Baldur's Gate. I don't really like it. Too much roleplay. Free Guild Marshal. Great. So far, 1 Warhammer Fantasy unit. The Command Corps was really cool, actually, as, like, a conversion opportunity. It's cool there's a Dark Elf Executioner's build some people are doing with cities. That's cool. That's not common, I'm sure, because, like, I would imagine... My gripe with the cities, outside of making combos bad, is that each race kind of performs well by themselves. Their buffs are strictly there to be like, if you have a dwarf character, you're going to buff dwarven units. If you have a human character, you're going to buff human units. So what's the point of the idea of this grand cooperation if you're typically taking units to buff the same type of unit? You know what I mean? Fusel Major looks sick. I would love to convert something up with this guy, and his rules are pretty good. -1 Ren to units, and you get +1 to hit. Like, you take the Fusel Major, and you take the fucking Hurricanum, and you're talking, like, severe castle. Like, shooting everywhere castle. Where is the Hurricanum? Oh, I love the Hurricanum. Add 1 to the hit rolls for targets, combat attacks until the start of your next... Wait. Add 1 to the hit rolls for the target's combat attacks. Is that not shooting? Wait. Is the Celestial Hurricanum... Is that shooting? Add 1 to the hit rolls of the target's combat attacks. Oh my god. They completely gutted it. Well, there's no reason to play them now. I don't think I'm going back to cities. I think I'm good. I think I moved on. They literally made the Hurricanum. So they kind of just took, like, the ability and put it on the Fusel Major. If a buff says attacks, it's both, combat is melee. That's pretty, I mean... I don't like that. It's, I mean, you just kind of roll it up, and it just kind of does its thing. Does it have any melee attacks? Warhorse's hooves, garbage. Wizard staff, garbage. It's just garbage. Well, so much for that one. See you later. Maybe the Luminarch of Hysh? 6-up ward save. The shooting unit. Nah, I'm not really, Steel helms. Fusiliers are cool, if you can use them. Which I think most people use them. That is so sad, though. I was reading this for the longest time. Because, like, in the previous edition of this book, essentially the idea was you would take a Hurricanum, you'd take a Runesmith, you take Longbeards, and you take Iron Drakes. And everything there would just, in turn, buff the Iron Drakes to be like 2-up, 2-up. Fucking -3 rend or something. Some crazy bonkers number. And it would basically melt things. Like, the combo was very specific, very centered around kind of shooting. And that was really cool. You can still kind of do that, but, like, it's a little bit janky. A little bit janky now. Yeah. You're right. From what I'm seeing, they are different. Absolutely. Wonder if this thing is any good. Ironweld Great Cannon. 24-inch, 2... to hit 4s on 2s, D3 +2. Shot and shell. Each time this unit uses a shoot ability, if it is in a fortified position, pick either the cannonball or the grape shot. If it is not in a fortified position, use the grape shot weapon carrier. Okay. Grape shot is 12-inch shot. 5 3s on 3s, 1, 2. Are there points costs for this shit? I mean, thematically, you can very much build a dwarven army aesthetically that fits this book. Sylvaneth build plays nothing like my old one. I have a Giga shooting in my list now, which could have never done before. My 9 Kurnoth bows. That's horrible. That's horrible. I don't want to hear that. 9 disgusting elven treemen bows. I'm going to be sick. That's cool, though. Yeah, I mean, if it does offer a little bit of, you know, a different type of playstyle, that's great. It's just an excuse for, like, conversions for me, really. Let me read the, Rune Lord. How good is the Rune Lord? Pick a friendly cities of Sigmar Dwarden unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit, then make a chanting roll of d6 until the next start of your turn, +1 rend. And if it's 10+, you get 2. I mean, dwarves are just shit. Like, they're kind of thematically dull if you just play them as is. Look at the Hammerer's profile. That's it? What is this dog shit? How is the, like, where's the fun? What? That's it? Oath sworn. That's terrible. You get a 5-up ward for being near a character? Alright. I mean, even the Longbeards are kind of like... Hang on, let me see what the Longbeards do. I read through this a little bit. The fucking Cogsmith is buffing gyrocopters? That's what I remember. Pick up to 3 visible gyrocopter or bomber units. On a 3+, add 1 to the hit rolls. Why the fuck is he buffing gyrocopters? What the hell? That's a little bit haggard, in my opinion. Where are the Longbeards? I think the Longbeards literally just give you better objective control instead of, like, pick a buff, grumble, like they're... And because you grumble, you get to pick, you know, some sort of complaint that they're just, like, barking out. And that was cool. And now I think it's the exact opposite. Okay. Add 2 to the control score of friendly cities of Sigmar units. That's it? Doesn't that just kind of seem boring? From, like, an art standpoint, it seems very fun just to have all these things on the field, but, like, yeah, it's a little... It's pretty toned back, for sure. Hollowed weapons. 3s on 4s for great weapons? Yeah, for sure. I would imagine there is, but, like, that has to be so thematically boring. You know what I mean? Like, oh, what is your front line? Ironbreakers, Longbeard. What's your back line? Iron Drakes. What's your supporting units? Gyrocopters. Oh, your characters are gotta be cool, right? Like, they're cool. Warden King, Cogsmith, Rune Lord. It seems very... It's just kind of thematically dull. It doesn't seem very exciting to play in the slightest, I'm not gonna lie. And again, now that you can't really have cross-buffing, it's like, why even take Dwarven units? Like, you could take Ironbreakers. Ironbreakers as, like, a Anvil unit to just literally sit in the middle of the field and deny an entire portion of the map. Like, I loved doing that. That was so fun. And they kind of hit, so they're a bit of both. But... I need the human units. Like, the human units have the flavor that I want. They've got the generic shooting, they've got the generic melee, they have the artillery, they have all the big war machines. They have everything you want in a Dwarven army, except they're inhumans. Well, flame, like, yeah, Drake guns are cool, but they're, in my opinion, 10 times more boring than Fusiliers and Fusil Majors. Like, rules-wise, you've got more buffing and more cool things to do on the human side, and more just conversion options, instead of just fielding the same-looking infantry. As a Cities Dwarf player, I think the Dwarves are in a better place than last edition. If you're strictly playing only Dwarves, I guess I could say sure. If you're strictly only playing Dwarves, right? No humans, no elves. I would imagine they're better. For me, it was more of, again, the cooperation. It was using the humans with the dwarves. Like, as an example, my previous list was mostly Dwarven units. I had a big block of Ironbreakers. I had a big block of Iron Drakes. I had Longbeards. I had a character or two. I had... 2 gun haulers as allies because I played Tempestai. And then on my flanks, I had, like, human units. You know, state troops with handgunners, state troops with handgunners, whatever. That cooperation, to me, worked pretty well, mainly because of the amount of buffing you could do in the middle of the field. So, like, again, the Hurricanum, turbo buffing, Iron Drakes and whatnot, plus the Rune Lord, plus the Longbeards. And you had this very, very strong shooting core that kind of, like, slowly moved up the field and would cover left flank, right flank, could shoot down the middle. I don't know, I'm a little bit indifferent now about cities. I do like the ideas for conversions. Like, right here, like wild core hunters, like that's just a dwarven ranger unit. You could do that shit all day. That's cool. I would love to do a dwarven cannon diorama. That would be beautiful. I think it'd be so fun to build out. These would be dwarven ram riders, right? Like dwarven cav if you really wanted to go that route. These are just big war machines. Anyways, it's just from a hobby standpoint, which is where I'm always viewing it first and foremost. Because to me, I want my army to look good before I want it to play well. That's just how I care about the hobby. Cities is just great for that. There's a lot of options. That would be interesting. Yeah, that could be something they could do, is bring out a, the Dwarven Coalition. Like, you idiots have been fighting for so long. Just work together. Do something. Stop being so stupid. And then you can also bring back the old Dispossessed, yeah. Maybe they'll do it. You know, I really wonder how much money Age of Sigmar dwarves make compared to, like, Old World, given Old World, I don't know, a couple of months. Very curious. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, people even bought Old World to use it in fantasy. Not Warhammer Old World is not really for everyone. It's very, like, it's a little bit of a brain power game with, like, all the niche rules. Yeah, exactly. You never know. I mean, conversions are always great. I think if you don't like the look of what you're doing, you're probably not going to want to stick with it, right? So, like, if you don't like the look of Age of Sigmar, I don't blame you. Just use fantasy minis. That's a completely valid option. And it's just cool. Works. I use my orcs as Tyranids from 40k as D&D mobs when I need more. Yeah, that works. Cross-platform gaming. Yeah, Squarebase is good. There's a few, like, Age of Sigmar channels. It's very, like, micro buff heavy, I find, with some armies, you know, giving, like, dwarves different runes, and they play differently because of it. You know, minor stats and stuff like that. It's, I mean, the entire setting as a whole is just so much more intriguing to me than Age of Sigmar. But I do love the simplicity in Age of Sigmar, right? You don't get into Old World and say, man, I can't wait to just throw down some dice. It's like, well, you can't wait to read 50 fucking rules for one unit and then remember them, because that's what you have to do. So, it's a specialist game. It's a little bit more niche, but it has a lot of character. There's a lot of, like, flavor within it. And I think that's a reason, one of the reasons why people love it so much. Yeah, Age of Sigmar is fun, man. I'm all for simplicity. I love playing AOS. I haven't played Fantasy since 8th edition, and having played Age of Sigmar, I'm like, dude, I quite like the simplicity. If I'm going to sit here and spend fucking upwards of a year making an army, I just want to chill with it. I don't want to sit here and, you know, memorize, like, all these rules and whatnot, but I still do love Fantasy, and I want to play Old World, so if you got a problem, just do both. Easily solved. Or just do one. So, yeah. But also, I mean, for me, Age of Sigmar is a way to be more creative and to put things into real space. So, like, Warhammer Fantasy is pretty skewed in how they want you to do things. There isn't much room for, like, imaginative... Holy shit, I just butchered that word. Imaginative. There's not much room for, like, imaginative conversions, I guess you could say, because of how dead set Old World is and, like, making certain armies a certain thing. And it's very set as is. And I love that, don't get me wrong, it's great. But I always wonder, like, all of these things in Warhammer Fantasy, what if they weren't so held back, right? What if you could have all of the crazy dwarven inventions? What if you could have all of, like, the crazy Empire stuff? Whatever it may be, Age of Sigmar kind of allows you to, like, create them. And the game's a little bit more lenient. It's like a fucking dad, you know, chill-out game. So people aren't going to sit there and, you know, be too worried about it if it don't look too right. But AOS is, it's a fun, creative venture if you like converting. Gotcha. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, again, I will be playing it. Maybe. I'm more inclined to play Spearhead, but we'll see. The only two things I want to do currently is finish this army and start my Spearhead. The Kharadron Overlord Spearhead. That is all I want to do. I'm just cleaning up minis. I am cleaning up all the imperfections, so when you paint, you don't see those imperfections. That's it. And it's mostly done. I'm extremely fucking tired, so, like, I think I'm gonna end it after I clean that cloak. But, you know, when it comes to this hobby, you kind of just have to keep going. It may feel like you're going nowhere, because this hobby is very... demanding, I guess is a good word for it. Pretty demanding, but that's why we love it. There's always something to do. Ooh. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they're only with that just because they're made. So when they're casted, essentially the problem is there's a little bit of excess plastic, and that excess plastic gets pushed out of the mold. As an example, say this is the middle of the mold. You can kind of see where this line runs. There's going to be a little bit of excess plastic that shouldn't be there, and so your job is to kind of scrape it down to its original form. That's it, really. You know, you can do different modifications and whatnot to make your minis look different. So, like, as an example here, what I'm doing is I'm going to make the one on the right just a cloak, whereas this one, his hood is down, so it's showing his hair. And the idea was also done here. So, like, his hair was here, and now it's a cloak. And instead of hair, I'm going to actually sculpt a hood over the guy's head, like there's a hood over his head. So that's the idea. There's a lot of things you could do, but the hobby is yours. Do whatever the fuck you want. make them look the way you want. As long as you're happy, that's all that matters. Yeah. You're basically just going in and making variants, I guess you could say. Because when you're given a kit, you're only given, like, let's say 4 different body types. So, like, this one with the hood, this one with the hair, you know, 2 others that have, like, certain chainmail patterns. And if you want to, you can make them look different. You know, you can kind of cut things away, scrape things down, add things. Just to make them all look a little bit different, because you don't want your whole army kind of, like, blending in because they all have the same pose or the same gear. But, you know, person to person, not everyone's going to like that. Not everyone's going to do it. So it's completely up to you. That is the idea. And I am dreadfully fucking tired. Bum, 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 bum. I just finished my Engron. What a relief. What a model. Is that the Forge World one? Is it like the Forge World character? Or like the demon one? It must feel good to, like, complete things, but at the same time, you're like, damn. Wasn't I supposed to enjoy that? I think everyone initially says, man, I can't wait to build this kit, and they're fucking, like, halfway through it, and they're like, man, this sucks ass. It was the demon one? Yeah, the big one. Is he resin or plastic? Plastic? Oh, that's pretty good. What are your thoughts on the band Windrose? I mean, they're good. I like their music. I've got their wooden boxes. They are good indeed. The only thing I don't like is their 3rd album has fucking AI art. Whoever did the 3rd album's artwork used fucking AI. It's kind of dookie. And, it's kind of unfortunate that it's merch. It's AI merch. But, like, maybe they... I don't know if it was them who did it, but... It's the one with the Slayer. It's called Troll Slayer. Like, their music is amazing. Don't get me wrong. But, like, whoever decided to use AI art, it's kind of a dumb move. Like, the last 2 album artworks were fucking awesome. Lovely. And the 3rd one kind of looks that way. It's the same, like, you know, styling of cover, but it's very clearly AI. Like, there's a lot of inconsistencies, hands that are fucking melting in, chains that aren't even chains, monster faces that don't even have faces. Like, it's already kind of been confirmed if you look at a lot of the posts surrounding it, so that's kind of lame, but their music is amazing. Yeah, their music is awesome. Something about the classic Dwarf sets that they released is pretty cool. Well, most of the old Warhammer is charming, yeah, for sure. You know, it's funny because, like, a lot of people who never did Warhammer Fantasy, I think I was looking at a channel, I think it was called Broadsword Wargaming or something. It was like a guy and his girlfriend, and he shows her the old Tomb King skeleton warriors, and he's like, what do you think? And she says, they kind of look like Kinder Egg toys. Woman. What? They're perfection. So, like, for that reason, you know, some people who weren't around for Fantasy, I can imagine look at Fantasy and say, man, those models don't look too good. They're so basic, they're boring. And for me, I'm like, that's peak. It's simplistic, it's a skeleton warrior. It's not, there's no bullshit involved. For me, it's the classics. And that's a totally valid point on her end and on everyone's end, you know? Everyone has their preferred style of things, and that's completely fine. It literally just boils down to aesthetics. You can see it. It is AI'd. There's a lot of inconsistencies. All the hand-sculpted old metal things, yep. That's Middle Hammer. The Middle Hammer sculpts are amazing. Turbo Old Hammer's not really my thing. There's a few sculpts that I do like, such as like Ungrim or Cazador and a couple of those guys, but Middle Hammer for me is like the GOAT. Full army in Fantasy rather than having an individual model that looks good. Oh yeah, for sure. Warhammer Fantasy is meant to have regiments of people walking around, and you don't really want trillions of bits and bobs hanging off them. Although they did make the Grail Knights on foot, I think, for Bretonnia, and that's kind of how they look. But either way, I mean, for me, it's the simplicity in Fantasy that really captivates me. Because it's not, again, it's not trying to be anything. It's just the classic dwarf, the classic skeleton in Nehekara or in fucking Sylvania, you know? Like, it's just a game that provides miniatures that know what they are. Age of Sigmar is kind of all over the place in aesthetics. It's not my favorite thing, but I'm still a sucker for, like, the simplistic stuff, so... And I grew up with it, so a bit of nostalgia as well. Middle-earth. Middle-earth is great, too. Middle-earth has, like, a lot of classic Perry sculpts. Like, my favorite Dwarven sculpts, some of my favorite, are from The Lord of the Rings. Amazing. Classic, simplistic, just beautiful sculpts. They don't try to be anything. They don't need to be anything. They're just what they are, and they do the job. I love it so much. A little bit of milliput here would fix this up. Oh, they're amazing. Here. I believe I've got more. Oh, I've got way more somewhere, but like These to me are some of the GOATs. Simplistic, generic Lord of the Rings Dwarf Warrior from Khazad-dûm. Paint scheme, beautiful. Same thing with this guy. So simple, doesn't try to be anything. It's just a Dwarf Warrior, man. And they look even better in the books. You usually get 3 to a blister. Like, I don't know, like, there's a bit of nostalgia here for sure because I grew up with these ones. Different Dwarf Kings. The Dwarf King sculpts are amazing. I got the other one too. So good. Like, if you've seen, yeah. So the 2 books that I would frequent quite a bit growing up was the 4th edition 40k army, not army book, the rule book, and then this one. This is the very first thing that got me into dwarves, like for Warhammer, and it's literally just the fall of Moria. That's what it is. This is the campaign of the goblins coming in and the Balrog and whatnot, and oh my god, we're all dead. At least in this book. Yeah, it's amazing. Like, these are all, like, as a kid looking at this stuff, oh my god. Look at this. Look at this. There's nothing like dwarves fighting for their fucking lives in their holds against numerous disgusting creatures. Just endless tides of them. Oh, it's just so good. You know, the generic, like these are just so good looking. The little fucking mustard boots. It's so good. All the Dowie. Well, they're not even called Dowie in this, but, you know. Even though they're all kind of like monopose and mostly just repeated sculpts, I love them so much, and I would never not field this army like this. I would love to just have all the same sculpts looking exactly like out of this book, and I'd be totally happy. Ball in the Kings, the Khazad Guard, Cave Trolls, Armored Goblins. It's just so badass. I love it so much. And then, you know, you got the Barrow Whites and fucking Tom Bombadil and Goldberry. And Radagast. Durbers, the Goblin King. Very fun. Love it. Absolute classic for me. 2002. Yep. Well, they're done by the Perry twins, I believe. Which have been in GW, like, sculpts for ages. It is a household name for those guys to be doing any sculpting for you. Or rather, in GW.
Shut up, you dickhead, now fuck off!
Yo, Cass, thank you, man. Cloak's looking good now. There's a lot of, like, imperfections, but you can clean it up. You can make it look better. You can make it look way better. The idea is to just get it into a good spot where, like, all you'd have to do is add, not take away. So. I'm just a little bit torn in doing Rangers because, like... Alejandro, thank you, buddy. Oh my god, so many subs. This channel's poppin'. Thanks, guys. I'm kind of torn with how I want to do the Rangers, just because I want some of them maybe without cloaks, but then again, they are kind of in the wilderness 24/7, so why wouldn't you have a cloak on? Either for, like, camouflage or just comfort, so you're not poured on with rain. A little bit more protected, I suppose. So, I don't know.
Shut up, you dickhead, now fuck off!
$2 from Ship's Cannon. Thank you, sir. Scam train, indeed. Yeah, 93%. One more, level 2. One for all and all for one, right? You guys, you're going to win big if I win big, right? Thank you, buddy. Can't imagine Rangers without cloaks. Yeah, in some official GW artwork, they don't have cloaks. All the older minis don't have cloaks, I believe. But realistically, again, if you're out in the wilderness, you're probably going to be wearing one, realistically. I don't think you're going to just clink around in the wilds with just chainmail on. So, yeah. It's just more of, like, an aesthetic choice to have a few different alternatives. Because, like, what I could do is I could still give them a cloak, or rather, I could give them no cloak, and then make the cloak kind of, like, stuck to their backpack or something, to make it look like they still have it, like, on them. So. Yeah, I gotta, like, shave down backs, though, to put backpacks on, but the idea's there. Oh yeah, maybe. I'd probably do 2. Or make it 3. 7 cloaks, 3 uncloaked. And again, in GW sculpts, in artwork depicting Rangers, they don't always have cloaks. So. I always picture the classic Kazmodan Dwarf Rangers from WoW. As what? Oh, you mean a ranger. Like the very typical, like, green hood, green cloak, like, leather outfit with, like, a rifle? Yeah. If that's what that is. I mean, they've been known to wear, like, little ghillie suits, right? Like, in one of the Go Trek books, there's, a little bit with a ranger and one of the main characters, and when they describe the ranger, he's wearing this like weird little getup with like bird shit all over him, but it's like this giant cloak and kind of like this weird hat, and kind of like a little ghillie suit-ish thing with like bird poo everywhere, you know, like again you're sitting out there in the woods. Yeah, for sure. I think that is their most recognizable feature, is like a big cloak. Absolutely. Good balance, accessories like that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think I'll do that. I think what I'll do is, let me take a mental, not a mental note. I need a physical note. So, let's use a Halls wrapper. Doesn't smell like anything. 7 cloak. 3. So 7 cloak, 3 without. I think that's a good balance. Yep, more so cloak than not. So tomorrow I'll pick up the bodies because I'm pretty damn tired. Although, let me see here. I've got like 10 cloaked bodies, but... So let's see. Hang on, sorry. So we had a total of 1, 2, 3 of these. Let's do 4 of these. And 1, 2, 3 of these. You can't even see them. Oops. So these 3 bodies we don't really need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Huh? What? Oh, 8, 9, 10. Okay, you know what? I can actually pick them out. We need 3. We need 3 torsos that are chainmail. This one looks really good. Generic, sure. That's another one, good. Oops. And let's do one more. This could be a good one. Maybe do this one, the braid. Are you gonna do any sort of diorama style unit fillers for the Rangers? No, because they're skirmish formation. I believe that's what they're called. So like, they have to be separated. All 10 of them have to be single entities, basically. You can't really do unit fillers with that. If you wanted to, maybe, like, you know, have a bird or something as, like, an actual model instead of just being in a unit. Unit fillers, maybe for, like, the Dwarf Warriors, maybe for, like, the actual large regiments walking up the field. Nothing for, like, smaller units like Rangers, no. I'll think of them. You know, I'll maybe think of something, but I have a problem with overthinking and kind of obsessing over like small details, so I just get nothing done. But yeah, unit fillers are fun, very fantasy, very like do-it-your-own type of hobby thing, kind of like the old White Dwarfs. These days, I feel like GW doesn't really push that. Everything they want to do is kind of buy it, finish it, we can supply it, don't bother trying, buy more from us. But the essence of old Warhammer, and for me as a child, was always making your own stuff. When I was collecting Lord of the Rings for a little bit, my mom, and still is, very much into, like, you know, hobbying and painting and, like, woodworking and whittling. And we'd go out in the woods, and we'd bring home a bunch of, like, weird dead twigs, and we'd combine it with, like, dollar store moss and, you know, cardboard cutout bases, and we'd make little, like, wooden barriers, and we'd cut foam and make caves. And the closest thing I ever had to a board, a big table to be able to play on, was in my room, probably around the age of 10, maybe. It was a very shitty, like, 100 times used, like, garage sale table. And I laced it in the old Games Workshop grass rolly. Basically, Games Workshop used to sell you a rolled mat of grass. It was like static grass, but it was glued to like a very flimsy, cardboardy material. And I super glued it all to the table. I put a few fucking hills down, I put some trees, and I would play like little army men with my Warhammer. That was fun. That was a long time ago, though, and that was some child support and a half, I'll tell you. They did post about it, yep. I did see them doing advertisements and, like, articles for unit fillers. Yeah, that was cool. Green blanket. Hey, that's what you do, man. Like, you gotta be resourceful sometimes, and that's just what you have, so you use it. I love that stuff. Any sort of like handmade terrain or homebrewed or kit bash or any of that shit, it's great. It's lovely. Hydrate! I think I got water. Always sniff the water. Simple Times. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. You can still do that stuff. I still have all my old books, all my inspiration. You know, yeah, you're all growing old. It's terrible, but you can kind of, like, take what your parents gave you and then give it to your kids. It's like, if I ever have kids and, you know, I introduce them to, like, Warhammer, I'll be like, let's go forage for some twigs. Let's get a glue gun. Let's go get some fake moss, and let's make some terrain and have a little board and play a game. Or play Little Army Men, whatever it may be. That's just what I love. That's what I grew up on. That's cool. Yep. Yeah, that's... I love the, There's a channel, I believe, called Striking Scorpion. He's like a 40k YouTuber. He has some of the best-looking tables, because he also incorporates... There's a few people who do it as well. I think Winter SEO or something does it. But basically, when people make tables, they put down official stuff, they put down fan-made stuff, but then they also put down little bits of moss and stones and sand, and they just lay it down on the board, or the mat. And it's so much more immersive, and it takes you back to that time when, again, that's what they would do. You would see a lot of, like, handmade stuff, or real-world, like, pieces of dirt and whatnot kind of laying around, and it would just build character. It set the tone for the match, and you're on this planet, it's dusty, it's got stones, it's real. It's real in your miniature's eyes. But yeah. Who knows, man. Good times, though. If I can ever get my own place, like, man, I'm making that Warhammer room. Oh, if I could ever, in my lifetime, be able to have an entire dedicated, like, garage to Warhammer, and you set up a whole camera system, and you got the rig going, and you can record it all. Bro, you get people over, you play games every weekend. That'd be sick. Yeah, that's cool, man. I don't... You know, I actually thought about making terrain recently just because I was getting into Spearhead. And, the way Spearhead works... So the way Spearhead works is you need to buy this box, or that's at least what they tell you. So you buy this box, it comes with the counters, or not the counters, but it comes with, like, the measuring stick, okay, whatever. The cards for, like, the twists and whatnot, it comes with the board, but it also comes with these 4 pieces of terrain. And, you do need the terrain to play. It's two identical, 4 pieces, and, for as cool as it looks, it's gotta be fantasy. And, I was thinking of just kind of, like, taking the templates for these pieces of terrain and making my own, because you do have to bring it in when you play, Spearhead. And that's it. It's literally 4 pieces of terrain, 2 board sides, and you're in and out. You're done. Lightning fast. So, dude, I even thought of making my own fucking board with this thing. Like, this is so easy. You go to the hardware store, you get, like, a big, thick piece of wood. One side is the underway for the dwarves. The other side is, like, some mountain peak or something. That'd be badass. And it's so easy to do. This is so easy. Board size, and you can make objective markers yourself. You can do everything yourself. Yeah. For the sake of, like, simplicity, though, you know, people just use the board and whatnot, but, like, if you've got time and you've got the ability to kind of, like, make your own shit, I would love to make terrain again. Dwarven-themed terrain, of course. Again, like, let's make the Underway. Let's make, like, a mountain peak pass or something. Like, it's awesome. I wish I was further along in my own hobby to sit down and say, fuck working on the army, let's do this. Because that'd be sick. It's just a 22 by 30 inch board. Yeah, it's not very big. Oh yeah, the terrain itself needs to be this though. So like, if you want to make the terrain look different, again, all you need is like the footprint for how big it is, and then you can just do whatever you want. Francais, $80 French. But yeah, that's cool. Les fleurs et les jade package de jeu. I was so surprised this didn't even come with the fucking physical book. Kind of a slap in the face, in my opinion. But, like, I want that physical book just because I like the books. But it's gonna get outdated soon. Yeah. I bought this with the intention of, like, you know, they coerced me into buying it, and I saw games, and I'm like, okay, I'm sold, I'll get it. And I open it, and I'm like, where's the book? And the rules are online. You don't need the book, but, like, the book is pretty handy. Anyways, I'm out of here. That's it for me. I am finished. So with that being said, everybody take care of yourselves. Be well, stay safe. I am done here for tonight. This is the exact same company that hides content that was previously free. I mean, yeah, I don't know, man. I will, unless Games Workshop comes out to be, like, literally Satan, like, spawned from Satan's nut, and as bad as Satan, I will forever be a GW fanboy. It's what I grew up with. It's what my childhood was. It's the sculpts I love. I love the universe. I love the books. Like, I've been around the hobby for probably 20-ish years. People have been in there longer. But this is, like, to me, the ultimate thing in my life as a hobby. And, yeah. So, I'm out of here, folks. Everyone stay safe, be well. Thanks for hanging out. I will be on tomorrow for the main channel, and then maybe at night with this channel. We'll see how it goes. And, GG's. Hey. Well, nostalgia's a real bitch, isn't it? But yeah, I'm out of here. Take care, folks. Be well, stay safe. And